So if you are on YouTube and you're wanting to talk about like morphing illustrations, you can just say morphing illustrations in After Effects. There's also morphing letters. You can morph shapes, and there's a lot of tutorials on that. And they're, you know, about 12 minutes to 17 or 18 minutes in length. And they will go over this more extensive detail than I'm going to cover. But anyways, just to show you the basics of it. So remember from yesterday that After Effects here, the main areas are the project area and the effect control area here. So in the project area, I made a new composition. Remember how to do that? You go down here, new composition. I set it HD at 1920 by 1080. You can label that if you want to, like I showed you yesterday, by right-clicking, renaming it. And you can rename that composition, and it renames it down here. You can make multiple compositions. I'm not going to be going over that so much today. So here's the technique. So I brought these PNGs, right? A carrot, a mushroom, and some peas. And these were made by Ella, so thanks for providing those. The reason you want to bring in PNGs is because PNGs will give you transparent backgrounds. So if you're in Photoshop, you've made your background transparent, you save it as a PNG. If you make your background transparent, you save it as a JPEG, it won't be transparent. So PNG keeps transparent backgrounds. So the backgrounds are transparent there. So here's what I've done. You can see that the mushroom's kind of disappearing as I kind of toggle the scrubber through. And then the mushroom comes, and then there's this weird blob effect on the pea, and then the pea emerges, right? So mushroom disappears, pea emerges kind of thing. So I'm going to show you that technique now on the carrot. So the way you do that is you go up here to the shapes area. You can also go to the pen tool, but the easiest way to do it is just go to an ellipse, click, and drag an ellipse around here, right? I'm going to hit the space bar, move that up. And then what I can do, I'm going to want to add, these are little sections here called anchor points. I'm going to want to add some anchor points to my ellipse path here. So that is under the pen tool. So for those of you that use Illustrator, it functions exactly like Illustrator. There's your add, it calls vertex tool, but I call them anchor points, and delete. So for those of you that are familiar with any vector program, it runs exactly like that. So go to the add, and then I can add a few extra, they're calling them vertexes in After Effects, but I call them anchor points. So I add points along the path there, right? Here's the, and it has created this mask down here. So the minute I go and put this on this shape or illustration, it puts a mask down inside of the layer here. If I hit invert, you see that it inverts the mask, right? So it depends on how I want to reveal it. Like if I wanted the illustration being revealed, like, so if I click on the move tool, watch this, start clicking these things, and I can reveal it in. Like I can make it like it's not showing at first, and then pull this down and reveal it in, right? That's the invert. But if I want to make it appear on screen first and then disappear, then you pull that down like that, right? So that's all depends on what you want. So you can invert it or not invert it. So I'm gonna make it disappear. So go down to the path, the mask here. There is a mask path, and you can keyframe the path, and that's really essentially what you do. So scrubbers here, click on enable the keyframe, click that, the stopwatch, move this over, and then you click off. So it's kind of like the same with Illustrator. When you start clicking, sometimes things move around in weird ways. I just click off to the side, and then when you're ready, click here, and then you can start dragging the path, right? The mask path, and then you see it's created another keyframe here. So essentially, you're making it disappear by masking it out. And then it's all what you want to do with your keyframing. The closer they are together, the faster. Further they are apart, the slower it goes. And I can go here, move this up, move that up. You could zoom in and try like getting in there and making it completely disappear with the mask. But here's a trick. So if I've done this, this is all zoomed in, I'm there, and then I want this last part disappearing. Don't worry about fussing with the anchor points or the vertexes and pulling them in. All you have to do here in this mask area is there's mask expansion. So you're going to enable that. You're going to keyframe mask expansion, move this over, and go into the minus and like do the opposite of expanding it and move it in. So you don't actually have to tinker around. You can just do that. Just do a minus expansion. I'm going to go fit. And there you go. And then that makes that disappear. The lines, as it's going here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. These mask lines are harsh, so you can throw a feather on it if you need to. Feather it off. So that's how you can smooth out. If you don't want the harsh edge, you just throw a feather on it. You can also keyframe the feather if you wanted to. So those are your tips. You keyframe the mask path to make something disappear or reveal, and then you can expand it, or the opposite of expansion, pull it in at the end so you don't have to be tinkering around and getting all frustrated with keyframing it completely out of the picture. The last thing I'm going to show you, so that's how you do that. It's just making a mask to make something disappear or appear. When you watch this here, you'll see that there's a slight bulge or bulb thing that I threw on there just to kind of enhance the effect. So I'm going to turn those off, turn this on. What that was is under Effect. I got to click the layer here. Under Effect, Distort. There's tons of things you can use, but bulge actually works really well for something like this. So I threw a bulge on here, and then you can expand the radius of the vertical and the horizontal, and you can see this bulging that, and then you can change your bulge height, and then basically you move the bulge around like this, and that creates this bulge effect. And then you see that it's changing the bulge center. So you start the bulge somewhere, say off to the corner here. It's under Effects, Bulge, and then there's your bulge center. You keyframe that, and you start pulling that through the thing. And then that's how that bulge effect was created. And then it creates a little more movement to your thing, right? So there's other effects you can play around with. Other people on YouTube will probably have other things that they do. I was trying to make this tutorial as quick as possible just to give you a kind of an overview. So I'm going to turn these two back on. The last thing I would do now is you want to time when the mushroom disappears and when you want the peas appearing, right? So it's just not just doing that. So all you have to do now is you slide the layers around where you want them. So I already made a marker here because I was testing it this morning, and I found that it worked best at this point here. If I move the peas over to here, and there you go, and the pea appears. Kind of like a rough and ready way of doing it, but those are the basics.